Hey, welcome to The Explainer. I'm so glad you're here because today we are diving into a concept that's, well, as ancient as philosophy itself, but honestly, it's literally never been more relevant than it is right this very second. We're looking at true sincerity, the philosophy of when nobody is watching. All right, let's just jump right in. I want you to run a quick mental simulation with me. Okay, picture two people doing volunteer work side by side. One of them is just there because they genuinely want to help out. The other person, they're really just doing it so everyone around them will see their effort and, admire them for it. Just keep that vivid image in your head for a second. So we have volunteer A and volunteer B. Now, from the outside, looking at their physical actions, they look completely identical, right? They might be packing the exact same number of boxes, or maybe they're sweeping the exact same floor with the exact same amount of energy. But here is the critical question. Would one of them keep doing that work in the exact same way if absolutely nobody were watching? If the cameras were off, if the crowds just packed up and went home, volunteer A keeps going, but volunteer B, they probably stop. That invisible distinction, that purely internal driver, is exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Section 1. Defining true sincerity, a pure intention.
Okay, so to really unpack this, we're going to turn to the historical and religious teachings of Said Nursi. He actually explored this exact behavioral paradox in his famous text, the Treatise on Sincerity. And the definition we're working with here is beautifully stark. Sincerity means doing something purely for the sake of God, expecting absolutely nothing else in return. I mean, just think about how radical that really is. It completely strips away our very natural, very human desire for an audience. It totally removes that craving for external validation, the pat on the back, the public recognition. It essentially demands that the value of the action is entirely contained within the pure intention behind it. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where Nursi draws his foundation. This quote from the Quran provides the ultimate authoritative framework for his entire philosophical argument on the subject. So worship God, sincere in religion, for Him alone. It's an entire religion, an entire worldview distilled right down into one single, uncompromising sentence. The standard here isn't just about going through the physical motions of worship or doing good deeds. It's about the absolute purity of your inner state while you're doing them. Section 2, the chain of near misses, the fragile stages. So Nursi actually visualizes the incredible difficulty of achieving this true sincerity through really fascinating progression. Step 1. Knowledge alone doesn't save a person. You can know all the right things to do, you can literally have the entire philosophy memorized, but if it just stays in your head, well, it falls short. So naturally you move to step 2, acting on that knowledge. But, surprisingly, acting on knowledge alone isn't enough either. Just like volunteer B from our earlier scenario, you can absolutely do the right action for the wrong reason. Which brings us to the final, and definitely the most fragile stage, step 3. Only sincerity saves. Doing the action without needing anyone to see it. And notice that even sincerity carries its own great risk because, let's be honest, the human ego is always just waiting to creep back in and claim the credit. Section 3. The ultimate test in modern times. Let's put this in today's terms. True sincerity means doing something with the exact same care whether or not you ever post about it. We live in this culture completely driven by social media, right? Where the immediate instinct after doing something good or interesting or even just productive is to broadcast it for likes and comments. The modern audience is quite literally in our pockets at all times. But what if you removed the ability to take a photo, to draft a tweet, or share a story? Would your actions remain identical? Would your care and attention to the task remain exactly the same? That right there is the modern paradox of our two volunteers. And this modern translation anchors perfectly back to our core source text. Know that sincere religion is for God alone. That's found in Surah Az-Zumar, chapter 39, verses 2-3. The Quran directly describes this profound requirement for inner honesty. It's a timeless standard, and it just cuts right through the noise of any era, demanding that our truest motivations remain completely untainted by the gaze of others. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought experiment. Just think back for a second. Can you recall a moment when you knew absolutely no one was watching and you still chose to do your very best? A quiet, completely unobserved moment where your only audience was your own conscience and your creator. I'm going to let that question linger. Take some time to reflect on your own internal motivations today and see if you can find that space of true sincerity in your own life. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.